Let's go ahead and add the skin color for our character. Make sure that you select the correct texture set. So I'm going to go to my head and arms here. That's where I have my skin mesh. And then let's go to our Smart Materials section here on the left side. So on the libraries area, just click on this icon right here. This is where you're going to have your Smart Materials. And then let's go and type in skin. And you're going to find skin face, skin feverish, and let's do skin human. Now I want you to hold control on your keyboard, click and drag on the smart material, and drag it onto the vertex color for your skin, which is in my case, is the blue color right here. And then just drop it. And you can see that it is on top, that layer is on top of the face paint. So what we really want is we want the skin human's tone to be, we want it underneath the face paint so that we could still able to see our face paint here. So let's go ahead and click and drag it below. There you go. So anything on top will be seen first, okay? And anything at the bottom will be seen last. Now, you could see that there's some bumps that's been added here, it's included with the skin human simple material. So what we need to do is we need to open that folder. What I like to do first is I like to hide all of my components here that's inside this folder. All of these layers will be hidden. So let's go ahead and hide all of those. This is a good way to manage whatever's inside that folder, and then you adjust your settings as you need. So we could go and start at the bottom and then work our way at the top. So let's go ahead and turn on our base. So basically the base is the base color for the human skin right here. And I want my base color to be more like, let's see here. So make sure you look at your reference. So I want it to be this skin tone, like mid-tone brown. You don't want something that is out of the realism of human skin. So of course you don't want this color because this is more Photoshop. This is not how a real human skin look like. At the same time, you don't want something that's overexposed or you see highlights on there. So you want like a neutral tone. So I think grabbing maybe a color from here or a color from part of the forehead here where you have the mid-tone area would be great. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and click on where I have my base color here. What's good about this is you're able to sample. If you go to the properties, you're going to be able to click an eyedropper for the base color and hover your mouse, your eyedropper onto the photo where you want to sample. So I could hover my mouse over to the skin tone that I want. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drag this to the other side of my monitor. I'm looking at two monitors, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to my eyedropper and then sample that color, and I'm gonna have this color. And I think it's a little too, maybe it's a little too dark. Maybe I'm gonna get a little lighter tone on there. There you go. And I think it's too saturated, so we could go ahead and click on the actual color in this rectangle and kind of mess around with our color wheel here. So maybe you want it to be a little bit more desaturated, so it looks a little bit more natural, the skin tone. You don't want it too saturated. Yeah, I think something like that would be fine. Yeah. Okay, now that's going to be for the base color. Let's go ahead and turn on the next one, which is going to be the fractal sum. When you turn it on, that's basically the discoloration of the skin. So this is going to be a lighter version. That's going to be a lighter version of the base color. So remember, we started out with a base color that's way lighter. So for the fractal sum, it has to be a little darker than what we have now. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my base color under my properties tab, go to my eyedropper, and sample the base color for now. And I'm going to go to change it to maybe a lighter color. So we have a little bit of discoloration there. Not too much. Maybe something like that would be fine. And you could even go click on the fractal sum right here. So you have two thumbnails, right? Click on the second one here. And then you're going to see that there's some options that you could actually play around with. So you go to the levels and adjust these. So you could kind of mess around with how much you want this to show. So I'm gonna leave it at default. I'm gonna go to my fractal here. So the fractal layer fill, we could go ahead and change the tiling for this one. So right now we have it at 16. If we crank up the value for this, we're gonna have smaller discoloration. So if I go crank this up, you can see it's a lot. It becomes a lot smaller. You bring it down, we get like larger noise. So I want it to be large. I want it to be smaller, so I'm gonna set 32 tiling. But yeah, mess around with the tiling there, see what you want. And for the dots here, the next one's gonna be the dots. If we turn that on, that's going to be for some moles that you want to see on your character. Right now the dots, I don't really see anything here. So let me see. If I go to fractal and mess around with the tiling, not much there. For the level, I'm really not sure where this is, but I don't see much going on. Okay, now I start to see a little bit of effect. I guess very, very subtle. What you could also do is you could hide everything and then just isolate that particular layer so you can see what you're working with better. Okay, now I see. Okay, so that's a little bit more off, a little bit of discoloration that you could add. That adds to the discoloration of the character. So I think I could kind of leave that there. So I got the base color on, the fractal tone, and the dots. Yeah, that's fine. So that adds a little bit more variety to the skin tone. And then for the top color, we can go ahead and turn that on, see what that does. Okay, so that's going to be the bloodish, pinkish color that we see on the skin. And I don't want it to be more, so he's an African American, so he's not going to be as reddish. So we could go and change that. I'm going to go to my base color, eyedropper, sample my base. And I'm going to go click here and then set it to a reddish color, pinkish color. Okay, maybe something like that. Maybe a little bit like this. Not too reddish. I don't want him to be too reddish. So very subtle. So this is more of it will give it more like a reddish tone, pinkish tone. Okay. Some people you could see more of a yellowish tone. Some people you see more of like copperish tone. So I think something like this would be fine. A little bit pinkish brown. And go ahead and turn on AO right here. So this one here is going to be the reddish tone around this area. Let me see here. So we could go and isolate it. Isolate everything. Alright, and now all I have is the AO turned on so we could see what it is. Alright, so that one is... Okay, I guess that makes some deeper parts of our character pop out more. So you could see adds a little bit of shadow. A little bit of shadow on the deep parts here where we have the inner corner of the eyes. And also in the ears, add a little bit more depth. So you can keep that if you want. I kind of, you know what? I'm going to turn that off for now. I don't like how it's making the nose look, so I'm going to turn that off. If you don't like some of these layers, you could always turn it off. But yeah, I'm going to turn on the rest of them and turn off AO. And let's go ahead and see the dots. So we have a dots here, turn that on. So that's going to be for the mole. You could also mess around with that if you click on the second thumbnail. And then in the second thumbnail, you have all of these other layers that you could mess around with. If we go to our apparel here, play around with it. So that changes the direction of the mole and you could add more or less. Alright, so you could also mess around with the clouds here and increase the tiling if you need to. So depending on where you want that mole to be, play around with both the cloud fill here and also the Parallel noise. This is to get the result that you want. I think what I had initially was good enough, -32. And if you don't want it to be too pronounced, you could go to each of these, or maybe you could go here and then bring down the opacity. Okay, this is something to work here. We could bring down the opacity for the levels and the clouds, I think. So we go each of these for the clouds and the peril noise, you could adjust the opacity. So if you don't want it too much, you could adjust it. I want it to be very, very subtle, or something like that. Okay, so now for the surface skin, if you go ahead and click on that, so it's adding the noise, which we already have our noise here. If we turn that off, we already have our pores on the skin, but you could also keep that if you want. Let's say the pores that you made is not enough, you could go ahead and turn that on, and you could adjust the size of this. You could click on the second thumbnail here, where you could see more options here. So this is just click on the masking part, and then go and click on the fills that you have. So I have the dirt fill here, so I could go ahead and adjust that. Maybe crank up the tiling all the way up, and also for the clouds, I could crank it all the way up. Maybe down. Let's see here. Yeah, something like that. And then we could go to our dirt fill and adjust the opacity. Just gonna bring it down. I don't want it too much. I want it to be there, but not too intense, because I already have my own noise. I already have my own pores. But yeah, something like that would be good. And then we have our veins here. So we could turn on the veins layer. Right now you don't see anything, but if you go ahead and crank up the opacity, so each of this layer have an opacity, you could go and crank that up. So if you crank it, let's say we crank it all the way up, you see like some veins right there. If you're doing like a zombie, maybe you can make it purplish black, but he's not a zombie. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. I want it to be there, but not, I want it to be subtle. There you go, 26 is fine. And of course, go and turn on scattering, sharpen. All right, and for our render, let's go and check out our render so far. So remember, you could press F10 for render, or you could click on the camera right here, the camera icon. Okay, the eyes is too dark, so we can go back to our paint mode. Okay, click on this brush right there, and we can go to our eyeball, and we have the pupil painted, but we don't have the color for the actual white part of the eye. So let's go and create a fill layer. We click on this bucket right here, click and drag it below the eye paint, and let's change that color to more white, not pure white. You want it to be more of a light gray color, not dark gray either. I don't want it to look like that. Not too white, because it looks like he's gonna have glowy eyes. So light gray will be fine. Maybe something like that. And let's go and check what we have. Okay, and another thing is, I think the face is a little round, so I'm gonna go to my camera settings. So I'm gonna go to my display settings and then scroll down, and to my focal length, I'm gonna set this to 30 instead of 35. There you go. Okay, and I think probably yeah, I think the pupils here could I think Michael B. Jordan definitely has pupils that are larger than others. So I'm gonna go back to my paintbrush, and I'm gonna go back to my eye paint here, and I'm gonna go bring down my brush size, turn on symmetry again, press X, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and bring down my opacity, definitely show more. There you go. Uh-oh. Something like that. Okay. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and hide my head arms here and hide the tear duct. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna show everything. Okay, I think that for, see here, I think I want to kind of change up I want to kind of open his eyes a bit. I feel like he is seducing us a little too much. He looks like he has those bedroom eyes. So I'm going to go back to my Blender file. Okay, so back on my Blender file here. And I do want to see the normal map. So I'm going to go over here and set it to texture. Alright. Yeah, I want to go ahead and kind of change this up so it doesn't look like he's seducing us too much. So I'm going to go to our scope mode. I'm going to go to my grab brush. And I'm going to make sure that for the lock, everything is locked except for the Z direction going up. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Pull it down a bit. Down a bit. Yeah, pull this down slightly. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and mask this area out. Go to my grab brush. And just pull this up slightly. And pull that down. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my tear duct. Go to my scope mode. And I'm going to go and pull that up. This up. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead and select everything and export this out. Export FBX. Make sure you click on selected objects. And oh my goodness, I replaced something else I'm not supposed to. But selected objects. And I think that one was the MB mesh. Okay, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go edit, re-import mesh. And I'm going to have to rebake this because I made some changes. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to go and rebake this. So since I made some changes, we have to rebake it because the ambient occlusion is of course going to look slightly different. So I'm going to go my texture settings. You know what? Before I do that, I don't like, yeah, I think I want to go back here. I'm going to go back, scope mode. There you go. Let me see again. Yeah, you could definitely go back and adjust things as needed. Nothing set in stone. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and export FBX. Okay, and I'm gonna go and re-import again. Okay, that's better. So now I could go ahead and bake this. I'm gonna go ahead and go to my texture settings for our, yeah, for everything we could just bake it for all of the texture sets, bake mesh maps. Okay, and let's go ahead and click on bake selected mesh. Yeah, I'm gonna pause this video and get back to you guys. All right, great. Now we could go to return to painting. Okay, and as you can see, the normal map, it's gone from our head arms, the normal map that we have added, our normal map from Blender. But we could go back to our texture set here and go to our normal section and just go ahead and replace the normal map that's been baked with the one that we made in Blender. And then I'm going to go to the outfit also. So we only have two normal maps, one for the outfit and one for the face area. Okay. Alright, so everything's there. Cool. Everything is back. Yeah. So yeah, this is much better. I really like it. And what we could also do is we could go to our texture set for where we have our face. And I'm going to go back to my face paint area. Okay, and I want to go ahead and maybe enhance his eyelids, his upper eyelids there. And yeah, so that way it's just look like we're kind of faking the shadow. It just make things pop out more. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the opacity. Bring down my opacity a bit more. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make this pop out a bit more, the lids. Alright. So this is kind of like faking the shadow that's being created by the lids and the overall orbit of the eye. Okay. Then we could go to our smudge. There's the smudge tool here. Bring down our brush size and gonna smudge this up. Go. Alright, that's better. Let's see how this looks like. Do a little render test. F10. You know, I'm gonna turn off my symmetry. Press F10. You even go mess around with the background. Play around with the background here. For our display settings, I have a Studio 06. Let's see if I could do cave entry. And I'm gonna go hold Shift and then right click to just drag. Ooh, looks pretty realistic this way. I'm liking that. Very nice. It's actually looking better. It looks more realistic. But well, I guess what I don't like about this, it has like that greenish tint being illuminated on his skin. But let's say you do want to render your stuff in Substance Painter, you could mess around with the different types of maps here that will make your character pop out more, bring him to life. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to set it back to the black and white though, because we are still in our painting process. It's good to have a black and white HDR image when you're doing this. Uh-oh. Bring it back. Alright. Back to paint. Okay, so I think that is it for our skin tone. And in the next video, we're gonna continue on. You could add some color on the lip area, and we could probably work with the nostril area. I think it looks like it's a little glowy. We're probably gonna have to paint a little bit black color there, yeah, kind of fake the shadow. And also we got some stuff to do with the shirt and the outfit area, pants and everything. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next video.